A dead man sat beneath the Somerton Beach seawall. No name, no papers, and one hidden phrase that seemed to end everything. It was December 1st, 1948, near Adelaide. Morning walkers saw a figure against the wall and first assumed he was asleep. Then they came close enough to understand the stranger was dead. Nothing around him explained who he was or how he arrived there. They found ordinary objects, cigarettes, matches, combs, transit tickets, but no wallet, no identification, no document with a name. Most clothing labels had been removed. The man carried possessions, but almost nothing that could lead police back to a life. Doctors found no simple, visible answer. Suspicion turned toward poison, but no conclusive poison was identified in 1948. Witnesses had noticed a man in the same place the previous evening. At times he appeared to move. At times he did not. A witness later recalled seeing an arm lift, then fall. Was it a final movement, or a memory reshaped by what came after? Tickets suggested recent travel through Adelaide. A suitcase was eventually found at the railway station, but it carried the same silence. The suitcase held clothing, tools, thread, and small personal effects. Again, labels were missing or altered. The pattern felt deliberate. Some items bore the name Keane. Police chased it, but the trail did not establish the stranger as anyone named Keane. Months after the death, a hidden fob pocket in his trousers gave investigators their strangest clue. A tiny rolled scrap of paper. The words were Tamám Shud, Persian for ended, finished, or completed. They had been torn from a book. The phrase came from the Rubáiyát of Omar Khayyám, a book of fatalistic verse. Police appealed publicly for its missing copy. A local man said he had found a copy in his car, apparently left there. Its torn page matched the scrap exactly. On its back cover, police found a phone number and a penciled sequence of letters. A code, perhaps. Or something far simpler. The number belonged to a nurse living near Somerton Beach. Police knew her publicly as Jestyn. She said she did not know the dead man. When shown his death mask, Jestyn's reaction was later described as striking, yet she still denied knowing him. The room kept its secret. Years earlier, Jestyn had given a copy of the Rubáiyát to an army officer named Alfred Boxall. Police found him alive, with his copy intact. Boxall was not the body on the beach. So why did a second copy lead police to Jestyn, and why did its code remain unread? The letters looked organized, broken into lines like a message. Cryptographers, detectives, and amateurs spent decades trying to make them speak. It may have been initials, verse prompts, or a personal mnemonic. No proposed solution has been accepted as definitive. Cold War Adelaide had military research nearby. A nameless man, removed labels, possible poison, and code made espionage feel almost inevitable. There is no public proof he was a spy. The theory survives because the facts are strange, not because the record confirms it. Jestyn had a young son, Robin. Some observers later pointed to physical similarities with the unknown man. Similarity is not paternity. The case outlived detectives, witnesses, and generations. Its files gathered dust while the man on the beach remained officially unnamed. In 2021, authorities exhumed the Somerton Man. Modern DNA methods offered a chance that 1948 never had: a name. Researchers focused on DNA from hair preserved in a plaster death mask. A fragile trace became the case's new center. Using genetic genealogy, researchers built family trees from distant relatives. Branch by branch, one candidate rose above the others. In 2022, South Australian police announced an identification: Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer from Melbourne. The nameless man had a name. Webb was born in 1905 and worked as an electrical engineer. He had lived in Melbourne, far from the seawall where he was found. Records showed Webb's marriage had broken down. He disappeared from parts of the paper trail before arriving, somehow, in Adelaide. Why Webb traveled to Adelaide remains unresolved. So does what he did there, who he met, and what happened on November 30th. The identification was a major breakthrough, supported by DNA and genealogy. But it did not establish a cause, motive, companion, or killer. With Webb's name restored, Tamám Shud changed meaning. Was it a farewell, a quotation, a private signal, or merely a torn scrap? Jestyn's exact connection to Webb was never publicly established. Her denials, the book, and her reaction remain suspended in the record. Some researchers have explored whether Webb could have been Robin's father. Publicly available evidence has not delivered a final, universally accepted answer. Poison remained a suspicion because some findings seemed unusual. Yet the tests of the era could not prove it, and later, certainty never arrived. Certain poisons can be difficult to detect, especially with 1948 methods, but difficult is not evidence. The case cannot borrow certainty it lacks. A code can make any mystery feel engineered. Yet no confirmed key, source text, or recipient has ever emerged from those penciled letters. Tamám Shud came at the end of a poem about life's brief passage. That makes it haunting, but it does not tell investigators who placed it there. Did Webb carry the scrap himself? Did another person place it in his pocket? The evidence cannot answer even that first question. Investigators could not conclusively show whether Webb died at the seawall or was brought there. The sand did not preserve a clean story. Between his last possible sightings and the morning discovery lies a gap no witness ever closed. That gap is where every theory lives. Now investigators can say who he was. They still cannot say why Charles Webb ended up alone on Somerton Beach, or what ended his life. A solved identity is not a solved mystery. The temptation is to fill silence with spies, lovers, poison, and codes. The record resists it. His pockets held small habits, cigarettes, matches, a comb. They are intimate objects, but they reveal almost nothing about his final decisions. The station suitcase suggests someone practical: tools, thread, spare clothing. But even a portrait made of objects can leave out the essential person. Investigators noted barber thread in the suitcase, including an unusual color linked to repairs on his clothing. Even that detail proved little. Every clue seems one step from meaning. The book, the number, the code, the suitcase, the beach. None crosses the final distance. The Somerton Man endured because it feels designed, though real life rarely is. It is a mystery built from fragments that refuse arrangement. For years he was called only the Somerton Man. Carl Charles Webb restores a person to the headline, even if the final chapter is missing. Who met Webb in Adelaide? Why was the book connected to Jestyn? What did the code mean? And what happened beside that wall? Suicide explains the phrase, perhaps. Murder explains the secrecy, perhaps. Espionage explains the code, perhaps. Each theory leaves evidence behind. Officially, Webb's identity has been established. The circumstances and cause of his death remain unresolved. That is the truth, without ornament. Somerton Beach is still a beach. Walkers, tides, open sky. But one stretch of seawall carries a question the ocean has not taken away. A paper scrap small enough to lose in a pocket became the symbol of the case. 2 words carried an entire unknown life. Perhaps Tamám Shud was meaningful. Perhaps it was incidental. A mystery becomes dangerous when every object is forced to confess. Jestyn became central to the story because of one phone number. But suspicion is not proof, and her private knowledge died largely with her. No verified meeting, no proven weapon, no confirmed poison, no solved code, no witness to the final moment, only the seawall and silence. The man was no longer only a riddle. Carl Charles Webb had a birthplace, work, family history, and a place in the human record. What was Webb thinking on his final night? The record cannot enter that silence. It can only show where the silence ended. This case has an answer to its oldest question. Who was he? It has no answer to the question that brought police to the beach. On Somerton Beach, Charles Webb was found dead with a message that said ended. More than 70 years later, the story still has not. The seawall remains. The tide returns. The files remain open. And somewhere between them sits the missing final hour of Charles Webb's life. Some mysteries endure because they are elaborate. This one endures because its most important evidence may have been ordinary and vanished unnoticed. Charles Webb's name returned from the dark. The reason he died did not. That imbalance is what makes Somerton feel unfinished. Was the answer hidden in the code, the book, the suitcase, or a conversation no one recorded? The case leaves every door slightly open. Carl Charles Webb was identified. His death at Somerton Beach remains unsolved. That is not a cliffhanger. It is the documented ending. Some cases are not solved by louder theories. They are remembered by returning to what is known and admitting what is not. If this unfinished case stayed with you, follow void narratives for more real mysteries where the evidence ends before the questions do. At Somerton Beach, the tide keeps arriving. The name is known now. The final truth is still somewhere beyond the seawall.